Hey, what is happening everyone? Welcome back to another video, and today we have the Teclast P10 Android 7.1 tablet. So, let's get right to it. And yes, I've already unboxed it and tested it out, so we're just going to take a look at the packaging inside. And pretty much all you get inside is some manuals, some papers, and the only other hardware you get inside is a micro USB cable, no charging adapter, which is kind of a bummer, but this tablet is $120, but yeah, still no charging adapter. Here's the tablet itself, and yes, it does come with this kind of case that you can actually get for an additional price. It's pretty cheap, and overall, I think it's pretty worth it if you're gonna get this tablet. It does cover it pretty nicely. The texture here does look kind of cheap, but overall, the build quality is pretty decent, and it does get the job done. Now, obviously, if you drop your tablet, it's most likely gonna pop off, especially if the cover is not on there, but it does give it a hard plastic cover on the back. It does attach on 4 points right over here, and that's about it. And then yes, you can also use it as a stand, just like so, which I would say gives it a pretty nice angle for using it and watching videos and whatnot. Pretty nice. On the right, we got a speaker, a charging port, which you can get additionally and charge it with, a micro USB charging port, a micro SD card, a microphone, and the headphone jack, and you do get another speaker on the left side. On the top, we got the volume and power buttons, and at the back, we got the camera, and finally on the front, we got the 10.1-inch 1920 by 1200 IPS display, which does have some pretty decent brightness levels. And overall, it does look pretty nice, but it does feel like it has more of a bluish or a greenish tint, just a tiny bit, so that is something you should keep in mind. But overall, it's a pretty okay display. And we'll talk about things that I've discovered with the display that are not so good, and stuff that's been popping up from Teclast in my experience recently. So overall, the tablet here does feel pretty nice, and it does come with a pre-installed screen protector, which is nicely installed. It's not the worst installation, just a single spec somewhere around there. Overall, the display does look pretty nice, even with the screen protector on. In the back, it does come with a pre-installed protector for the aluminum back, so here we go, let's get some unpeel therapy going. Oh yeah. And it does feel pretty nice. You got a Teclast logo, some information, and that's about it. It's basically made out of a unibody aluminum, and overall I think it looks pretty good for what it is. So the default launcher here, it's not bad. It's very plain looking. One thing that I noticed about this launcher is that the animation here isn't the best. It's kind of choppy, you can see. It's not perfect. Of course, you can install Nova Launcher and get it over with. You can see that opening the notifications here, it's kind of laggy, it's not very smooth. And no, it does not have an ambient sensor, so the tablet is not going to adapt and change its brightness according to your light levels in your environment. Okay, this is kind of an exception, but let's go ahead and talk about the performance when it comes to video. So right now, all this thing can do is 720p 60 FPS and 1080p 30 FPS, and that's about it when it comes to YouTube. Now, if you go ahead and switch to Netflix, it's pretty much capped at 720p from the looks of it. It doesn't seem like it is hitting the 1080p mark. The Netflix app doesn't seem like it wants to run 1080p on this tablet, or things that this tablet cannot handle it. So the highest quality you can do on Netflix is 720p. And the same case goes for downloaded videos from Netflix. And speaking of Netflix, the Netflix app actually doesn't show up on the Google Play Store. It thinks that it is not compatible, and the only way you can actually download Netflix is through an APK third-party website. You can search it up on Google, Netflix APK, and then you'll be able to install Netflix on this tablet and use it. Now if you go ahead and take a look at Crunchyroll, it pretty much plays at perfect speed, at 1080p of course, so it can handle it pretty well. And overall, if you want a cheap tablet that is about 10 inches, that you can watch Crunchyroll on, then this is the tablet for you. Colors look pretty good, and it does also sound pretty good. So let's go ahead and take a listen. So there you go, the dual side firing speakers are pretty good, and overall they're gonna get the job done. They're not the best obviously, but they are definitely good enough for watching video, watching a movie, in a pinch if you don't have any headphones. So overall they're pretty good for consuming content. Now speaking of content and watching video, you can expect 3.5 hours of video playback on VLC with a 1080p video on full brightness. So if you're just reading a book or browsing websites or reading Reddit or whatnot, with 50% brightness or so, you can probably push the screen on time around 4 to 5 hours. Charging time takes about 2.5 hours from 0%, and all I have to do now is to go ahead and take a look at the gaming performance and see how it performs. So if you try to play anything like Asphalt, it's obviously not going to work. It's too heavy for small tablets like this, and Asphalt was running on very low settings. But anything lightweight like Crazy Taxi, even though it's emulated or actually just ported to Android, it works flawlessly at 60 FPS, no problem at the native resolution, which is really nice. I mean, Sega has actually done a pretty good job porting this game over to Android. It works flawlessly, and it's actually more fun to play here than the original because of the high resolution and the smooth graphics without any glitches. Especially if you try to emulate it on anything else. Games like Skyforce are going to work. Games like Cross Your Road, which are actually pretty heavy to run, they're not going to work, believe it or not, yeah. So, it's not a gaming tablet, it's a $120 tablet. That's what you can expect from something like this. It doesn't play video on 1080p 60 FPS, but if you try to play any local video, then it will work. If you try to watch anime, it will work because obviously it's running at 1080p. If you try to run Netflix, it's going to run at 720p max from the looks of it. It doesn't want to run anything above it. So, have I encountered any issues so far? The Wi-Fi on this thing isn't really the best. Being in the same room with the router, I usually get around 150 to 180 with Wi-Fi down and 15 or 16 up, which you can see there's their first result right here. 2 rooms away, you'll get about 50 down and 16 up. And then 3 rooms away downstairs, you'll get 5 down and 5 up, which is pretty bad. And yes, this is running on the 5 GHz AC Wi-Fi network. It does dip pretty quickly, so if you plan on using this tablet far away, you're obviously going to encounter some issues with the Wi-Fi. And lastly, since this tablet is running Android 7.1.2, which is pretty new, you can do split screen mode, which is really useful, and I've been a big fan of this. Here you can see I'm running Reddit and 9gag at the same time, and although it's not perfect, it does its job, and it does run fairly well. It does handle it okay. And if you're getting the tablet for browsing, then it's also going to get the job done. It works fairly well. It's not the smoothest, of course. And overall zooming is pretty okay. Now, it does take a while for the images to load on this website. We're currently on MSN.com, which has a ton of pictures and text. And you can see that it might take a while for something heavy like this to load. And finally, the thing I was talking about at the beginning of the video is that the display here actually came with some stuck pixels. Originally, I thought it was only one stuck pixel right over here, and it's going to be really hard to show you guys on the camera, but I'm just going to tell you about it. There was a red stuck pixel right here, and it's still there. There's a blue text pixel around here, and there's a green one right here, and I believe there was a yellow one over there or something. And overall, these might disappear over time, or you might not even get them with your tablet, but that is something that I've actually experienced with Teclast recently, where I also discovered it on the Teclast F6 laptop, I believe. It's not going to be that noticeable, but it is there. You could probably run one of those apps that actually cycle the colors around the screen. It will try to unstuck the pixel. Basically, what a stuck pixel is, it's pretty much what the name suggests. It's a pixel that is stuck on a single color. Anyways, that is all for this video. So, should you get this tablet for $120, you might even get it with a coupon, maybe $100 or so. It's a pretty okay tablet. If you just plan to play some lightweight games, watching some videos on a local SD card, then this tablet might be for you. So the things that stood out to me are the speakers. So the speakers here sound pretty good, as you've heard. The performance is pretty bad, but that is to be expected. The biggest flaws that I see in this tablet is the Wi-Fi. It's not that great. YouTube does not run at 1080p 60 FPS, which is unfortunate, but it can do 720p 60 and 1080p 30. And lastly, the display came with some stuck pixels. And that's about it. It's a $120 tablet. It feels pretty good. It does get warm around this area right here. This tablet is not that bad. It does its job, and you think it does what you want, then go for it. It's a pretty good price, and overall the build quality is pretty decent. So with that, I'll leave it up to you guys. That is pretty much it for this video. So the upcoming videos are going to be some pretty exciting videos. We have an awesome arcade console we're going to be reviewing. And finally, we're going to be taking a look back at some of the products we have reviewed previously and show you guys what are my favorites so far and what's the best bang for your buck. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, found it helpful. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe to content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.